But just by fooling around and being a larrikin, this class clown has turned himself into a world-class comedian. He made us laugh in his TV show all those years ago and had us in the aisles as Crocodile Dundee. Then came the flops, and we all began to wonder whether the clown had lost his touch. But now Paul Hogan has a new movie and a new look. It's his opening scene in Flipper, and the larrikin is back. But what everyone's been talking about, is there something different about that ugly mug?
Oh, yeah, what do you think? Did it turn out or not? Should I ask for my money back?
Well, it looks pretty lived in to me, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah. I enjoyed that for a while, but now it's turned and it became, because a lot of journos saw me on the Flipper and everything and said, it wasn't much of a facelift, you know. I said, well, I never had one. They said, oh, OK. So the story came out, then I had one and it failed. So, you know, when they walked me, I said, oh, he looks much younger and, you know, he's had a facelift now.
A lady who used to know you reckoned that you might have had one of your eyes done.
I did it. Yeah, I had this eye here. I had about that long scar tissue taken out of it because it was drooping. But it was to keep my eye open. I'd lost 30% of my vision. It wasn't designed to make me pretty.
Wasn't
and if it was, it failed. It might be that both eyes are now the same size. I don't know. This one used to be like that until they took the stuff out. Other than that, I don't know.
I'm sure the plastic surgeon would have told you.
I know.
Why bother?
Well, I had a chin implant, and actually my mum rang me up and she said, did you have a chin implant? I said, what? Well, she read about it. I'd had cheek implants and a chin implant and a facelift and I don't know what. Hair transplant. I had that too, see? That never worked either.
That didn't work.
Another failure.
Hoag's new film, Flipper, is a 90s remake of the 60s story of a boy and a dolphin. Elijah Wood is a kid on a summer holiday in the Bahamas. Hoag's plays his uncle, a fisherman down on his luck.
Let the animal go. How to teach you a lesson. Yeah, I'd like that. I have a thirst for knowledge. Teach me.
Is it hard to bring the quintessential sort of Paul Hogan stuff, the old Hogan stuff, to a Hollywood movie?
Oh, no, I just slip it in naturally. I mean, I slipped a few into Flipper, and they get big laughs where they should get laughs. It's just a couple of gags I pinched straight out of the old Hogan shows, but they were mine in the first place, so I'm not really stealing. Want a bit of toast? Thanks, mate.
It was the rigger who climbed down from the harbour bridge who gave us this gag on television over 20 years ago. And it's still one of the best laughs in Flipper.
But you know, once we get out there on that ocean, can't exactly order up a pizza.
Apart from cooking the toast, what other old Hoag's routines have you managed to get into?
That'll be the instantly recognisable one, having the toast cooking. And the other one will be doing the washing up and having a shower at the same time as another Hoag's one.
But Linda told me you still do that.
Yeah. I never was trying to be funny. I was just being natural on television.
Still the original grunge.
Serious. Yeah, I'm a dag. I've always been a dag.
When Flipper premiered in Hollywood, Hogan's pals were there in support.
Great to see him back, and I'm here to show him support. And, you know,
But it's Paul's wife, Linda, he has to thank for landing him this role.
It was her fault that I did it to start with, because she had a pile of scripts sent to her by her agent, and she was reading that and said, oh, this is you. You should be doing this. And I looked at it and said, Flipper. It's an old TV show being remade, you know. So I didn't even read it for about a week, and I finally picked it up and looked at it and thought, yeah, I could do that stand on my head. So we got in touch with the director-writer, and he said, oh, I had a note on the script saying we wanted a Paul Hogan type for Porter Ricks. And I said, well, I do a pretty good Paul Hogan type, so everyone was happy.
The real star of this movie is Flipper. But in a Hollywood film, there are endless retakes, so they built the perfect stand-in.
Like the head is worked by this function here in the jaw. And then we have separate controls for the tail, up and down.
I had to talk to the electronic dolphin at one stage. I felt pretty stupid. You know, it was sort of having a heart-to-heart talk with a robot. But most of the time in the movie, they're real dolphins. 90% of the, 95% of the time. I could trip over and my hat fall over my eyes and dribble. And it doesn't matter, it's a great take. The dolphins were perfect.
It's the work, making movies, that keeps Hogan in Hollywood. This is where the scripts are, although most of them aren't what he's looking for.
The Australian movie written by an American who's never been there type thing. So, you know, your kangaroos are hopping in and out of your living room type of thing. It's pretty frightening. And have you been
Even with his millions and his mansions, Hogan says he doesn't feel at home surrounded by the Hollywood cult of celebrity.
No, they don't want me. I often suck up and try and go to the Planet Hollywood openings, but they say, no, we don't want you here. No, I don't. I don't hang with them at all. Anybody, I don't think. I have quite a few friends here, but no one whose name you'd sort of go, oh. Geez, about the only star I know that I've seen more than 3 or 4 times in the last year would be Mel Gibson, and he's sort of, you know, he's half local.
Where do you go to relax?
Oh, Colorado. We've got a place up in the mountains. This is magnificent.
In the snow?
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm there all winter because I'm a ski nut now. Superb skier.
It's funny, I've never ever seen film of you skiing. I wonder about that.
Never will.
Is it a bit like the Charlie Chaplin on skis?
Oh, no, it's a little bit more like Buster Keaton. Yeah. Just say that my confidence far outweighs my ability.
But we haven't seen much of you at Byron Bay for quite a while.
The last 2 times I went out there wasn't in the paper, fortunately. But then some local sleaze and paparazzi will follow us down to the beach. They've sort of taken the edge off that a lot, you know, when you can't even have a swim without someone laying in the sand hills photographing you. Bank robbery, bungle. One witness thought one of the men was Jack Kane. Jack Kane? What happened to Lightning Jack? I sweat blood earning that handle, and some piss-out reporter just leaves it out. I'm writing him a letter.
Hogan was so sure his cowboy flick, Lightning Jack, would blow them away at the box office, he floated the movie on the stock exchange. The Australian public bankrolled this $36 million flop.
I had a lot of friends and relatives and acquaintances put money in it, and they did their dough. And they backed me to win a race, and I didn't win it, so, yeah. I was disappointed.
Did you do a bit of your own dough as well?
Oh, yeah. Well, I did it for nothing. I worked for 2 years for nothing. Bottom line came down to it. I got some money, but it all went back into the film, so. But it is that thing of people, you know, having a bet on you in a race and you fall over out the block, so that was disappointing.
Your next film, what's it about?
It's this one I co-wrote with my oldest son, Brett. And he and I wrote Croc 2 together, actually. This movie's a action-adventure with comedy, suspense, and maybe I'll get it made, maybe I won't. I obviously won't be floating it on the stock exchange. I don't think there'll be a queue of people wanting to put money on me again. But g'day, viewers. Variety Club was founded in Australia 21 years ago.
Some Australian pals Hogan will never let down are the kids helped by the Variety Club.
And I was fortunate enough to have the honour of being the founding president.
We helped him tape an invitation to the public to the Australian premiere of Flipper. He's handing over proceeds to Variety.
Very special kids, made their lives a bit better.
A father of 5, grandfather of 8, one of the few things Paul Hogan is very serious about is the entertainment industry's responsibility to the young.
I mean, I've sort of lived a fairly rugged life, and I've bled and I've made other people bleed. And I find movies I look at on the screen, sometimes you've got to turn away. And I'm, you know, far from squeamish or delicate by nature, as you know. If I've got to turn away from the screen, what's it doing on there? Why is there someone sticking a ballpoint pen in someone's eye? Or why is there a slow-motion close-up of the kidneys coming out of the rib cage and the blood, sort of? Who are they making those movies for? They're making them for sickos that get off on that. And they're also desensitising kids, probably, that if you see enough movies where people do get, you know, their eyes gouged out and their sort of ears ripped off and things like that, it becomes acceptable. It becomes, like, not horrific anymore.
Do you think John Howard's lead in trying to throw away some of the guns in Australia might save us from that level of violence?
Yeah. Unquestionably, the number of guns is the problem. No, I mean, you can't argue about that, and I've had guns all my life. I'm not sort of a crusader of any sort of any nature, and I'm responsible. But the guns are just too readily available, and if you can stop it from happening at home, you know, do anything you can.
I beg your pardon, little pig. What do you say?
He's always done things his own way. That's often his biggest charm. Even in a kids' movie like Flipper, there's a warmth. He's so easy to like. In the end, his lasting creation, the magic Hogs puts up on the screen, is Hogs.
I think we're in the poo, little mate.
Is it quite a compliment to you that Hollywood now thinks of a Paul Hogan type?
No, that's not that. Apparently that's someone only told me, this is an old Hollywood thing, I only heard it a week ago, that this is the way it goes in Hollywood. They sort of say, when your first movie comes out, they say, who's Paul Hogan? And it's not just Paul Hogan, it can apply to anyone. And then the next thing they say is, they've got a movie out, get me Paul Hogan. And then step 3 is get me a Paul Hogan type. Step 4 is get me a younger Paul Hogan. And step 5 is, who's Paul Hogan? And that's the Hollywood rules. It applies to everyone.